I don't think the world's going quants mad in the sense that people do irrational things, for example. I think it's all very deliberate, and I think what we're seeing, the upsurge in quantitative methods and tools, is just a development over time or history that certain things have become available. So people are rationally using them. So I think it's not really mad, it's more a rational response to the availability of tools that help decision making. Well, financial history in the quantitative sense is very useful to feed those quantitative tools. So what you have is time series of quantitative data, stock returns, market returns, foreign exchange transactions, returns, prices, all these kinds of things, and you can feed your analysis and your tools with these data. Now there's a different kind of history, obviously, that is more qualitative, more discursive, and that can, I guess, to some extent be used to understand how things feed into each other, how things interrelate, and I think this is also important to develop an understanding of how things interrelate. So you can have both financial quantitative data and also the more qualitative understanding of history itself that can both be used in order to come up with new ideas about future use of quantitative tools, for example, and how theories develop in financial markets. So both are important, quantitative data and also the qualitative understanding of history. The Roboadvisor is probably going to replace the human advisor, and it's also probably not going to replace the human advisor. Let me clarify a little bit. In the first sense, I think the Roboadvisor is probably going to replace the human advisor, similar to what Google is doing by replacing personal assistants with robo-assistants. And what we're seeing in the medical profession, for example, is where machine learning has led to a state where the prediction or the diagnosis of illnesses is much more precise through robots or software than through human advisors. So in that sense, I think certain elements of prediction or advice will be replaced with robot advice. But at the same time, I think most of our advice happens based on existing data sets, so an existing structure within data sets. So whenever there's change in the structure and in the underlying relationships between variables, I think in that case, in order to understand what is changing, you need the human advisor that can look beyond the algorithm, beyond the tools to see what has been changing. And also going back to the history of finance, in order to predict the future better, in order to understand relationships, you need to understand the qualitative history of financial industry, for example, financial markets. So you need both, I think. That's my forecast. We're going to have robo-advisors, but we still keep human advisors because human advisors are much better at understanding the structure of things. I think the Open University is important to educate people about where we are heading. In terms of the development of financial analysis, for example, also in terms of development of theory, how we understand financial markets. It's about change. It's about understanding the change within the financial industry, within financial markets, and I think only relying on prefabricated tools, essentially accounting tools or finance tools, will not be enough to understand and to really engage with the future. So I think in order to educate people to be able to understand and to work in this future, we need the Open University to develop more and better understanding, better tools and their understanding of financial industry.